to YouTube Original Stages, once home to Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose Assembly Hangar, and home to much of the first Iron Man, filmed 12 years ago. Many happy memories here. And speaking of taking a look back, technology. It's advancing faster and taking less time to be widely adopted than ever before. Like, as in it took roughly 10,000 years to go from writing to printing press, but only about 500 more to get to email. Now it seems we're at the dawn of a new age, the age of AI, artificial intelligence. Please define.
AI is a branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior in computers.
Okay, there you have it. What does it mean? I don't know. Tons of folks are working on it, right? Most people don't know that much about it, and of course, there's no shortage of data or opinions. Anyway, I've heard it said that the best way to learn about a subject is to teach it. But to level with you, I have a wildly incomplete education. Not in my day job, where I've been AI adjacent for over a decade. Anyway, I figured now would be as good a time as any to catch up on the state of things regarding this emerging phenomenon. My sense of it is it kind of feels like Pandora's box, maybe-ish. Much of my understanding on this topic has come from sci-fi stories, which usually depict us heading towards Shangri-La or dystopia. Like most things, I suspect the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Now, along the way, we'll demystify some common misconceptions about things we thought we understood, but probably don't. Terms such as machine learning, algorithms, computer vision, and big data, they will be conveniently unpacked to help us feel like we know what we're doing. Kinda. By the way, Pandora's box. What in the box? It was a clay jar. How about that? Demystified.
AI is teaching the machine, and the machine becoming smart.
Each time we create a more powerful technology, we create a bigger lever for changing the world.
It's an extraordinary time, one of unprecedented change and possibility. To help us understand what's happening, this series will look at innovators pushing the boundaries of AI and how their groundbreaking work is profoundly impacting our lives and the world around us. In this episode, we'll meet two different visionaries exploring identity, creativity, and collaboration between humans and machines.
Intelligence used to be the province of only humans, but it no longer is. We don't program the machines, they learn by themselves.
That's good. Right. My background's always been a mixture of art and science. I ended up doing a PhD in bioengineering. Then I ended up in the film industry, working on King Kong to Avatar, simulating faces. I'd got to a point in my career where I'd been lucky enough to win a couple of Academy Awards. So I thought, okay, what happens if we actually tried to bring those characters to life that actually you could interact with? Baby, ooh. What can you see? So Baby X is a lifelike simulation of a toddler. Hey, are you excited to be here? She's actually seeing me through the web camera. She's listening through the microphone. Ooh, yeah. Baby X is about exploring the nature of how would we build a digital consciousness if it's possible. We don't know if it's possible, but we're chipping away at that problem. Hey, baby, hey.
Problem is an understatement for what Mark's chipping away at. His vision of the future is one where human and machine cooperate, and the best way to achieve that, he thinks, is to make AI as lifelike as possible.
Peekaboo.
Which is why he began where most life begins, a baby, modeled after his own daughter.
So if we start revealing her layers, she's driven by virtual muscles, and the virtual muscles in turn are driven by a virtual brain. Now these are radically simplified models from the real thing, but nevertheless, they're models that we can explore how they work because we have a real template that exists, the human brain. So these are all driven by neural networks.
A neural network is a virtual, much simpler version of the human brain. The brain is the most complex system in our body. It's got 85 billion neurons, each of which fire nonstop, receiving, processing, and sending information. Baby X's brain is nowhere near as complex, but that's the goal. Instead of neurons, it's got nodes. The more the nodes are exposed to, the more they learn.
What we've learned is it's very hard to build a digital brain, but where we want to go with it is we're trying to build a human-like AI which has a flexible intelligence that can relate to people.
I think the best kind of systems are when humans and AI work together. One of the biggest misconceptions of AI is that there is a super intelligent being, or what we call generalized AI, that knows all, can do all, smarter than all of us put together. That is a total misconception. AI is built on us. AI is mimicking our thought processes. AI is basically an emulation of us.
Like visionaries before him, Mark's a dreamer. The current state of his moonshot, however, is a little more earthbound.
Thank you for granting access to your microphone. It's good to hear you.
Today, most avatars are basically glorified customer service reps.
Rest assured, your health is my primary concern.
They can answer simple questions and give scripted responses.
I love helping our customers, so I'm keen to keep learning.
Beats dealing with automated phone lines for sure, but it's a far cry from Mark's ultimate vision.
Hey, baby. Hey.
To create avatars that can actually learn, interpret, and interact with the world around them, like a real human.
What's this? Spider. So I'm starting to get a spider forming in my mind here. She's starting to associate the word with the image. So baby, spider. Spider.
Spider.
Good. Okay, what's this?
Spider.
No, this is a duck. Look at the duck.
Duck.
Yeah.
Baby X uses a type of AI called object recognition. Basically, it's how a computer sees. How it identifies an object like a spider or tells the difference between a spider and a duck. It's something that you and I do naturally. But machines like Baby X need to learn from scratch by basically sifting through enormous piles of data to search for patterns, so that eventually it can drive a car or pick out a criminal in a crowded photograph, or tell the difference between me and that guy.
But now I'm going to tell her that spiders are scary. Look out! Ah, scary spider! Ah. Hey, don't cry. It's okay. Hey, it's okay. Now she's responding emotionally to me as well. So we've gone all the way down to virtual neurotransmitters, hormones, and so forth. So Baby X has a stress system. If I give her a fright, boom! So we'll see basically some noradrenaline was released then, and she's gone into a much more vigilant state of mind.
What Mark is working on is known as affective computing, AI that interprets and simulates human emotion.
I believe that machines are going to interact with humans just the way we interact with one another, through perception, through conversation. So as AI continues to become mainstream, it needs to really understand humans. And so we want to build emotion AI that enables machines to have empathy.
Hello, Peppa.
Hello.
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 Oh, dear.
We could do this forever.
Oh, no, we could.
They've showed, for example, older adults who have AI agents that are in nursing homes, they are happier with a robot that emotes and is social than having no one there. That's really the enhancement of human relationships.
Hey, hello. You know, human cooperation is the most powerful force in human history. Right? Human cooperation with intelligent machines will define the next era of history. Using a machine which is connected with the rest of the world through the internet that can work as a creative, collaborative partner, that's unbelievable.
Jessica, one more time. We're gonna go from just the first two verses, and the first two verses will take us to 3 minutes, okay? I love music. The whole concept of music is collaboration. So if there's some people that see me as a musician, that's awesome. I first became interested in AI because AI is a very fruitful place to create in. It's a new tool for us. I dream and make my dreams reality, whether the dream is a song or the dream is an avatar of myself. One time a friend was like, well, you can't clone yourself. You can't be in two places at once. That's the promise of the avatar. Yeah, I left it over there. All right, here we go.
So you're about to enter the matrix. I'm going to sort of direct you through just a bunch of poses.
The team from Soul Machines is here to create a digital avatar of myself. They had to put me in this huge contraption with these crazy lights. What do you want me to do?
Your face is an instrument. All the wrinkles on the face is like a signature. So we want to get the highest quality digital model of you that we can.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, go. So we have to capture all the textures of their face, the geometry of their face, big gnashy teeth, how their face deforms with all the different facial expressions. How about a kiss? You could do...
With my eyes closed? Because I don't kiss with my eyes open. Every once in a while I peek. I want to have a digital avatar around the idea of identity, and that's the marriage of my data and my identity. Everyone's concerned about like identity theft. Meanwhile, everybody's giving away all their data for free on the internet. I'm what I like, I'm what I don't like. I'm where I go, I'm who I know, I'm what I search. I am my thumbprint. I am my data. That's who I am.
Pull your eyelids down like that. We want to get the... Yep.
When I'm on Instagram and I'm on Google, I'm actually programming those algorithms to better understand me.
Awesome.
In the future, my avatar is going to be doing all that stuff because I'm going to program it, get entertained through it, get information through it, and you feel like you're having a FaceTime with an intelligent entity. Yo, check out this link. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Yo, can you post that on my Twitter? Hey.
Hey.
All right, I'm the Soul Machines lead audio engineer. Hopefully, we'll be able to build an AI version of your voice.
After creating Will's look, then we now have to create his voice. For that, we actually have to capture a lot of samples about how Will speaks, and that's actually quite a challenging process.
Shall we kick off?
Yeah, let's kick off. All right, boom, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm Will, and I'm happy to meet you. I'm here to bring technology to life. And let's talk about artificial intelligence. Oops. Really? Whoa. That's dope. So there's so many ways of saying dope, bro.
Yeah.
Now, how realistic is it going to be?
This will sound like you. The sentences can be divided up into parts so that we can create words and build sentences like Lego blocks. It will sound exactly like you.
Well, maybe we don't want to have it too accurate. So you don't freak people out. Maybe I don't want it accurate. Maybe there should be some type of, that's the AI. Because this is all new ground.
Yeah.
Like we are in an intersection of a place that we've never been in society, where people have to determine what's real and what's not.
While Mark jets back to New Zealand to try to create Will's digital doppelganger, Will's left waiting and wondering, can Mark pull this off? What does it mean to have a lifelike avatar of you, a digital replicant of yourself? Is that a good idea? How far is too far?
We've been collaborating with machines since the dawn of technology. I mean, even today, in some sense, we're all cyborgs already. For example, you use OkCupid to find the date, and then you use Yelp to decide where to go, what restaurant to go to, and then you start driving your car, but there's a GPS system that actually tells you where to go. So the human and the machine decision-making are very tightly interwoven, and I think this will only increase as we go forward.
It's Sean McKinsley here with Canada Immigration and Visa Services. It's my great privilege to be with my colleague, partner, Ms. Connie Kwok, who has herself resettled from Hong Kong to Canada. Connie is the head of our
collaboration with intelligent machines. A different musician in a different town with a different approach is giving the same problem a shot.
People are concerned about AI replacing humans, and I think it's not only not going to replace humans, it's going to enhance humans. I'm Gil Weinberg. I'm the founding director of Georgia Tech Center for Music Technology. Ready? In my lab, we are trying to create the new technologies that will explore new ways to be expressive, to be creative. Shimon, it's a marimba playing robot. What it does, it's listen to humans playing, and it can improvise. Shimon is our first robotic musician that has the ability to find patterns through machine learning. Machine learning is the ability to find patterns in data. So for example, if we feed Shimon, Miles Davis, it will try to see what note is he likely to play after what note. And once it finds its patterns, it can start to manipulate it, and I can have the robot playing in a style that maybe is 30% Miles Davis, 30% Bach, 30% Madonna, and 10% my own, and create morphing of music that humans would never create.
Gil's groundbreaking work in artificial creativity and musical expression has been performed by symphonies around the world. But his innovation also caught the attention of another musician.
Okay.
A guy who unexpectedly pushed Gil beyond enhancing robots to augmenting humans.
I met Jason Barnes about 6 years ago, and I was just about finishing one phase of developing Shimon. And I was starting to think, what's next?
I got my first drum kit when I was 15 on Christmas. And when I lost my limb, I was 22, so I was kind of used to having two limbs. I started trying to fabricate prosthetics to try and get me back on the kit, which eventually led me to working and collaborating with Georgia Tech.
He told me that he lost his arm, he was devastated, he was depressed, music was his life. And he said, I saw that you develop robotic musicians. Can you use some of the technology that you have in order to allow me to play again like I used to? So that's a prosthetic arm that we built for Jason. When he came to us, he just wanted to be able to use sensors here so he can hold the stick tight or loose. I suggested let's do that, but also let's have two sticks. One stick can operate with a mind of its own, understanding the music and improvising. One stick can operate based on what you tell it with your muscle. And also each one of the sticks can play 20 hertz, faster than any humans. And together they can create polyrhythm, create all kinds of textures that humans cannot create. All right, I think we're ready to play.
In some ways, the robotic drum arm allows Jason to play better than he ever has, but it still lacks the true function or feeling of a human hand.
They don't provide the kind of dexterity and subtle control that would really allow anything.
This revelation drove Gil to his next innovation, the Skywalker hand. Inspired by Luke Skywalker from Star Wars and created in collaboration with Jason, the revolutionary tech brings what was once the realm of sci-fi a little closer to our galaxy.
This is just like a 3D printed hand that you can download the files online.
Currently, most advanced prosthetic hands can't even thumbs up or Flippy the Bird. they can only open or grip using all 5 fingers at once.
Most of the prosthetics that are available on the market nowadays actually use EMG technology, which stands for electromyography. And essentially what it does is there are 2 sensors that make contact with my residual limb, and they pick up electrical signals from the muscles. So again, when I flex and extend my residual limb, it will open and close the hand, and I can rotate as well. But the problem with EMG is it's a very vague electrical signal, so 0 to 100%. It's not very accurate at all. The Skywalker hand actually uses ultrasound tech. Ultrasound provides an image, and you can see everything that's going on inside of the arm.
Ultrasound uses high-frequency sound waves to capture live images from inside the body. As Jason flexes his muscles to move each of his missing fingers, ultrasound generates live images that visualize his intention. The AI then uses machine learning to predict patterns, letting a man who's lost one of his hands move all 5 of his fingers individually, even if he's as unpredictable as Keith Moon.
The work that Gil is doing is really important. Gil comes from a non-engineering background, which means that his technology and the way he thinks about robotics is actually quite different than, say, the way I would think about it, since I come from an engineering background. And the commonality is that we want to design robots to really impact and make a difference in the world.
We were able to create a proof of concept with Jason Barnes. Once we discovered that we can do this with ultrasound, immediately I looked at, hey, let's try to help more people.
All right, just leave me hanging, holding it. I'll just keep holding it. It's not heavy or anything, so you can just slide it. No, I'm just messing with it. So I met Jason Barnes at an event called Lucky Fin Weekend. They're a foundation that deals with limb difference. So, there we go. All right, it's out. Do you ever work on your car without the hook?
Not really. It's just way easier and efficient for me, too.
Dude, the hook really trips me out, though, man. When I lost my hand, it was close to 30 years ago, and prosthetics were kind of stuck in the dark ages. In general, they didn't really do a whole lot, and even if they moved, they seemed to be more passive than actually worthwhile to use. I don't like to talk about my accident because I don't feel it defines me. The narrative on Limb Different People has been the accident. This is what happened, and these are these sad things, and it becomes inspiration porn. For me, for example, right? If I do something, I have to like smash it out of the park because otherwise I feel like there's going to be this, oh, well, he did it good enough because he's missing his hand. Yeah. And I'm like, F that. Like, I'm going to be as good or better than somebody with 2 hands doing whatever I'm doing, you know? Prosthetics at this point in my life don't really seem like something I would want or need.
Many robotic prosthetics have not been adopted well. The amputees try them and then they don't continue to use them.
Hey man, stoked to check out the lab?
Yeah, for sure.
Right now, I'm the only amputee that's ever used the Skywalker arm before.
Were you right-handed?
No, I was born left-handed, actually.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
Yeah, I know, right?
I was right-handed.
It's extremely important to get as many different people as we can in there, including other amputees. It's hard to find people that are amputees in general, and then like upper extremity amputees is the next thing, and then finding people who are willing, to step out of their comfort zone and then do this.
Right. When I met Jason, I found it really interesting that we had a lot in common. Because we were both into cars, we were both into music.
Hey, what's up?
Jason, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
He's definitely a step or 2 ahead of me with the technology stuff.
The way this hand works is it essentially just picks up the ultrasound signals from my residual limb. So when I move my index finger, it'll move my index, ring.
Wow, for the first time, prosthetics are finally getting to the point where they're getting pretty close to actual human hand. It got me excited. I was like, this is the type of thing that I've been waiting for. If I was ever going to try one again, this would be the type of stuff that I would want to check out.
When I move my thumb.
I know from experience that it's not always working perfectly. It's very interesting for me to have someone else who comes and try our technology to see if it can be generalized.
Is my arm getting warmer just because you're wrapping it, or does that have some kind of heat in it?
Yep, it does have heat.
Oh, okay.
The first thing we need to do if we're going to get Jay to try the hand is we basically need to get a custom fit socket to his arm that's comfortable and fits nice and snug.
You comfortable when they do this? This is the most awkward part for me.
No, that was kind of weird.
Yeah. I was 12 years old when I lost my hand and had a prosthetic for 6 months, and pretty much ever since then I haven't used it, and it's been close to 30 years now.
And there's the impression of your arm.
It's way easier than that.
That's wild, yeah. It may not be right for me, but this is something that could really, really help people's lives. It would be really cool to have a hand in helping to develop the technology. All right. All right, ready? Just slide it in. Turn this, tighten. How tight?
I would say as tight as you can before it really hurts. Because the tighter it is, the better reading we'll see.
Okay.
Now we apply the probe.
Okay.
So it can read your movements.
Now we also have to work on the algorithm and the machine learning. And for this, we will need you to train.
Okay. An able-bodied person, when you move your finger, you're not really thinking about moving your finger. You just do it because that's how we're hardwired. But to be honest, I don't really remember what it was like to even have that hand.
Even though an amputee doesn't have a thumb, they still have the muscle. You still have some kind of memory of how you moved your fingers. And you can think about moving your phantom fingers, and the muscles would move accordingly. And that's exactly what we use in order to recreate the motion and put it in a prosthetic arm. But does Jay still remember how to move fingers that he didn't have for, I believe, 30 years ago?
Now we'll run the model and he'll be able to control the hand.
You're optimistic. I'm crossing fingers. Can I cross these fingers? Is that an option yet?
Having Jay here for a day and hoping to get him to a point that he controls finger by finger, I'm a little concerned that it will not work in such a short period of time.
Okay. And
ready?
Yeah, you should try each of the fingers.
All right, that's the thumb. Oh shit.
Unbelievable.
All right, index.
Yay!
Wow, I'm surprised. Middle.
Dude.
5 for 5.
Whoa. That's wild.
All right, let me do it again.
You're a natural, man. Doesn't that feel crazy? It feels wild.
I didn't think it would be as good.
I didn't either.
He hit me in the back after it worked. So.
That's the first time. It's like a game changer even in its infancy, which is kind of insane because it can only get better from there. And it's really cool to play a small part in that.
Now we have two main goals. First, you need to move your muscle or your phantom finger and immediately see a response. So this is one direction of research. The other direction is to make it more accurate.
Being able to type on a keyboard, use a computer mouse, open a water bottle, things like that most people take for granted. It's kind of like a sci-fi movie, soon to be written.
Give us 5, right? That's awkward as hell. Oh, robot to robot hand. Nice. That was real, right?
Yeah.
If I find out you guys had a button under that desk.
No, I promise. I promise.
What began as one man's pursuit to innovate music through AI and robotics unexpectedly became something much greater. A human body cooperating with a bionic hand is one thing, but is it possible to humanize a machine to the point that it truly seems lifelike? Or is that still sci-fi and far, far away?
How do things go with Will?
One of the real challenges there was just getting enough material that we could actually come back with. We can't possibly capture somebody's real personality, that's impossible. But in order for it to really work, it's really important to capture a feeling of Will. Right, so...
Will's avatar is actually Mark's first go at creating a digital copy of a real person.
Oh, wow, that's looking pretty good.
He's not just trying to clone a human by any stretch, but trying to create an artificial stand-in that's somewhat believable. Still, like most firsts, it's bumpy, and it's a cautious road into the unknown.
A big challenge that I've found while I've been looking through a lot of the images is it seems that Will was moving a lot during shots.
Okay. When we're building Digital Will, we have about 8 artists on our team that come together and pull all of the different components to bring together this real-time character that's driven by the artificial intelligence to behave like Will behaves.
Big challenges we've got is how we create Will's personality.
Yeah, like the liveliness and the energy that he generates and the excitement.
Facial hair was a challenge. Because it's so sparse, it's quite tricky to get the hair separated from the skin.
We have to be able to synthesize the sort of feel that you're interacting with Will. So Tia, I've got some stuff to hear.
We've got 16 variations.
16 variations. We take the voice data that we've got and then we can enable the digital version of Will to say all kinds of different things.
Here's the forecast. Yo, check out the forecast. Yo, check out the weather and shit. Here's the weather. Check out the weather. Yeah, about to make it rain.
That's fantastic. The words, the delivery, emphasis shows you just how complex people react.
It's awesome where we are in the world of tech. Scary where we are as well. My mind started thinking like, wait a second here. Why am I doing this? What's the end game? Because eventually I won't be around, but it would.
Will's endgame is more modest than Mark's. A beefed up Instagram following, a virtual assistant, anything that might help him expand his creative outlets or free up time for more creative or philanthropic pursuits.
Okay, so here we go. That's looking really different. It's going to be really interesting because, it's not every day you get confronted with your virtual self.
Right.
Does he feel that this is like him? If it's not representative of him or he doesn't think it's authentic, then he won't want to support it.
What up, Mark?
Oh, hey, how are you?
You can see me, right?
Yes. Yo, what's up? This is what I am. This is the new version of you. We can get them glasses there.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I remember I had a pimple on my face that day. You captured it.
The good thing is it's digital and we can remove it really easily.
Well, how come you didn't remove that?
You can make him do a variety of things. Let's play Simon Says. Say, I sound like a girl.
I sound like a girl.
Say that with a higher pitch.
I sound like a girl.
Raise your eyebrows. Poke out your tongue.
Tell me about growing up in Los Angeles. I was born and raised in Boyle Heights, which is west of East Los Angeles, which is east of Hollywood, just east of downtown. Should it sound exactly like me? Nope. Should it sound a bit robotic? Yes. It should. For my mom. My mom should not be confused. What's your name? Mi nombre es Will. You speak Spanish? I don't know. I know it needs some fine-tuning, but the way it's looking so far is mind-blowing. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, no worries.
How far do you go down that path until you can label it a living, digital living character? This raises some of the deepest questions in science and in philosophy, actually. You know, the nature of free will. How do you actually build a character which is truly autonomous? Peekaboo. What is free will? What does it take to do that?
Artificial intelligence is crucial to the work we are doing, to inspire, to surprise, to push human creativity and abilities to uncharted domains.
Unbelievable.
Free will. It's something we've been grappling with for thousands of years, from Aristotle to Descartes, and will continue to grapple with for 1,000 more. Will we ever be able to make an AI that can think on its own? A second artificial version of me that is truly autonomous? A Robert that can actually think and feel on his own while this Robert here takes a nap? Impossible? Well, when you consider what human cooperation has already accomplished, man on the moon, decoding the human genome, discovering faraway galaxies, I'd put my money on dreamers like Mark and Gil over the Earth is flat folks any day. Until then, nap time.
You know how they say there are two certainties in life, right? Death and taxes. Can't we get rid of one of those? See, 100 years ago, life expectancy was only 45. Can you believe that? And then by the 1950s, it was up to 65, and today it's almost 80. Tomorrow, who knows, right? Healthcare has made huge progress. We've eradicated epidemics that used to kill millions, but life is fragile. People still get sick or pass away for reasons that maybe, should be someday, curable. What if we could improve diagnosis? Innovate to predict illness instead of just react to it? In this episode, we'll see how machine learning is combating one of the leading causes of blindness and enabling a son with a neurological disease to communicate with his family. AI is changing the way we think about mind and body, life and death, and what we value most, our human experience.
And our runner, senior co-captain, number 8, Tim Shaw!
We've lived with this football dream. I mean, all the way back to 6th grade when his coach said, this kid is going to go a long way. From that point on, Tim was doing push-ups in his bedroom at night. Tim was the first one to practice. Tim took it seriously.
I don't know what they want to do out there. They don't know who they coming to.
For as long as he can remember, Tim Shaw dreamed of 3 letters. NFL. He was a natural from the beginning. As a kid, he was fast and athletic. He grew into 235 pounds of pure muscle. And at 23, he was drafted to the pros. His dream was real. He was playing professional football.
Hello, everyone. I'm with Tim Shaw. You get to start off the season right tonight. What's it feel like?
It's that amazing pregame electricity. The butterflies are there, and I'm ready to hit somebody, so you might want to look out. Hey, Titans fans. This is Tim Shaw here, linebacker and special teams animal.
He loves what he does. I mean, he says, they pay me to hit people.
I'm here to bring you some truth, a little bit of truth, and so we'll call it T. Shaw's truth, because it's not exactly all the way true, but it's my truth.
It feels like everything has changed. I think the hard part for me is that I'm in this in between where I am still taught, but not everything I say is understandable.
2012, my body started to do things that I hadn't done before. My muscles were twitching. I was stumbling, or I was not making a play I would have always made. I just wasn't the same athlete. I wasn't the same football player that I'd always been.
My performance, it slipped so much that the Titans cut me. 6 months after being cut, only a month after my 30th birthday, a doctor finally told me what was wrong. I was in shock.
The 3 letters that had defined Tim's life up to that point were not the 3 letters that the doctor told him that day. ALS.
I called home that night. I couldn't even get the words out. I couldn't get the letters out of my mouth. I mean, this couldn't be me. This couldn't be my story. I mean, I'm too strong. But then things got hard. Slowly but surely, my body started to fight me.
Okay.
ALS, which stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It causes the death of neurons controlling voluntary muscles.
He can't even scratch his head.
Better yet?
None of those physical things that were so easy for him before. He has to think about every step he takes.
So Tim's food comes in this little container, and we're going to mix it with water.
I just have a huge sandwich, and there's the ramen.
As the disease progresses, muscles weaken. Simple, everyday actions like walking, talking, and eating take tremendous effort.
It is beyond frustrating to not be able to express what's going on in my mind. I feel I'm smarter than ever, but I just can't let it out.
Tim used to call me on the phone in the night, and he had voice recognition, and he would speak to the phone and say, "Call Dad." His phone didn't recognize the word Dad. So he had said to me, "Dad, I've changed your name. I now call you Yo-Yo." So he would say into his phone, "Call Yo-Yo."
Tim has stopped a lot of his communication. He just doesn't talk as much as he used to, and I miss that. I miss it.
What do you think about my red beard? No opinion. That means he likes it. He just doesn't want to say it on camera. Now, my favorite was when you had to handle
language, the ability to communicate with one another. It's something that makes us uniquely human, making communication an impactful application for AI.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
My name is Julie. I'm a product manager here at Google. For the past year or so, I've been working on Project Euphonia. Project Euphonia has 2 different goals. One is to improve speech recognition for people who have a variety of medical conditions. The second goal is to give people their voice back, which means actually recreating the way they used to sound before they were diagnosed. If you think about communication, it starts with understanding someone and then being understood. And for a lot of people, their voice is like their identity.
In the US alone, roughly 1 in 10 people suffer acquired speech impairments, which can be caused by anything from ALS to strokes to Parkinson's to brain injuries. Solving it is a big challenge, which is why Julie partnered with a big thinker to help.
My name is Dmitry Kanievsky. I do speech recognition and also develop communication application. I lost hearing when I was 1 year old.
Dmitry is a world-class research scientist and inventor. He's worked at IBM, Princeton, and now Google, and holds over 150 patents. Accomplishments aside, communication is very personal to him.
Dmitry has a pretty strong Russian accent, and also he learned English when he was already deaf, so he never heard himself speak English.
Plan to go to Israel.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Technology can't yet help him hear his own voice. He uses AI-powered live transcribe to help him communicate.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's awesome. So we partnered up with Dmitry to train a recognizer that did a much better job at recognizing his voice. So the model that you're using right now for recognition, what data did you train it on?
On my phone, I use data from my voice.
So how does speech recognition work? First, the sound of our voice is converted into a waveform, which is really just a picture of the sound. Waveforms are then matched to transcriptions or labels for each word. These maps exist for most words in the English language. This is where machine learning takes over. Using millions of voice samples, a deep learning model is trained to map input sounds to output words. Then, the algorithm uses rules such as grammar and syntax to predict each word in a sentence. This is how AI can tell the difference between there, and there.
The speech recognition model that Google uses work very well for people who have a voice that sounds similar to the examples that were used to train this model. In 90% of cases, it will recognize what you want to say.
Dimitri's not in that 90%. For someone like him, it doesn't work at all. So he created a model based on a sample of one.
After I trained several models, I noticed that I need to shout in order it understood me well. So I specifically trained Francis by speaking very quiet. After I added this, it started to understand me.
But making a new unique model with unique data for every new and unique person is slow and inefficient. Tim calls his dad Yo-Yo. Others with ALS may call their dads something else. Can we build one machine that recognizes many different people? And how can we do it fast?
So this data doesn't really exist, we have to actually collect it. So we started this partnership with ALS TDI in Boston. They helped us collect voice samples from people who have ALS.
This is for you, T-Shaw. 1, 2, 3!
I hereby accept your ALS Ice Bucket. When the Ice Bucket Challenge went viral, millions joined the fight and raised over $220 million for ALS research.
There really is a straight line from the Ice Bucket Challenge to the Euphonia project. ALS Therapy Development Institute is an organization that's dedicated to finding treatments and cures for ALS. We are life-focused. How can we use technologies we have to help these people right away? Yeah, they're actually noisier. That's weird. I met Tim a few years ago, shortly after he had been diagnosed.
Very difficult to go public, but it was made very clear to me that the time was right.
He was trying to understand what to expect in his life, but he was also trying to figure out, all right, what part can I play?
All the Ice Bucket challenges and the awareness have really inspired me also. If we can just step back and say, where can I shine a light or where can I give a hand?
When the Ice Bucket Challenge happened, we had this huge influx of resources, of cash, and that gave us the ability to reach out to people with ALS who are in our programs to share their data with us. That's what got us the big enough data sets to really attract Google.
Fernando didn't initially set out to make speech recognition work better, but in the process of better understanding the disease, he built a huge database of ALS voices, which may help Tim and many others.
Do you have the same one?
It automatically uploaded it.
What's this episode say? Turn on the history light. As I am losing a lot in my life, one thing I stand by, if it's worth doing, I'll do it. The play stop is sing me a song. I view this decision as an opportunity. If I can impact someone else, then that is enough. And my personal plan is to sort as many presents as I can for them. Even if that means I will use my last breath of words.
How many have you done, Tim?
I have done 2066.
2066?
Tim, he wants to find every way that he can help. It's inspiring to see his level of enthusiasm and his willingness to record lots and lots of voice samples.
To turn all this data into real help, Fernando partnered with one of the people who started the Euphonia project, Michael Brenner.
Hey, Fernando.
Hey, how are you doing?
The Google research scientist and Harvard-trained mathematician who's using machine learning to solve scientific Hail Marys like this one.
Tim Shaw has recorded almost 2,000 utterances, and so we decided to apply our technology to see if we could build a recognizer that understood him.
Put that over here.
The goal, right, for Tim is to get it so that it works outside of the things that he recorded. The problem is that we have no idea how big of a set that this will work on. Dimitri had recorded upwards of 15,000 sentences, which is just an incredible amount of data. We couldn't possibly expect anyone else to record so many sentences. So we know that technically we have to be able to do this with much less recordings from a person. So it's not clear it will work.
I go the opposite way.
So that didn't work at all.
Not at all.
He said, I go the opposite way, and it says, I know that was. When it doesn't recognize, we then sort of jiggle around the parameters in the speech recognizer, and we give it another sentence. And the idea is that eventually you'll get it to understand. Yes, got it. That's so cool. Okay, so let's try another one.
If Tim Shaw gets his voice back, he may no longer feel that he is defined or constrained by 3 letters. But that's a big if. While Michael and Team Euphonia work away, let's take a moment and imagine what else is possible in the realm of the senses. Speech, hearing, sight. Can AI predict blindness? Or even prevent it?
என் பேர் சாந்தி. நாங்கள் குடும்பத்தில் 4 பேர் இருக்கோம். எங்கள் வீட்டுக்காரர் பேர் பகீரதன், பிள்ளை பவித்ராஸ், யோகேஸ்வரன். வாச தொளிப்போம், வீடு வாச தொளிச்சு கூட்டி கோலம் போட்டுட்டு பிள்ளைகளுக்கு காஃபி போடுவோம். 5 மணிக்கு எழுந்திருப்பேன்.
Santhi does not have an easy life. It's made more difficult because she has diabetes, which is affecting her vision.
கண்ணு வலி இருந்துச்சு. போய் ஆஸ்பத்திரி, இங்கே அலங்காநல்லூர் ஆஸ்பத்திரிக்கு வலி தலை வலி இருந்தது.
If Santhi does not get medical help soon, eventually she may go blind.
Complications of diabetes include heart disease, kidney disease, but one of the really important complications is diabetic retinopathy. And the reason it's so important is that diabetic retinopathy is one of the leading causes of blindness worldwide. This is particularly true in India.
Sir, excuse me, கொஞ்சம் கவனிங்க.
என்னங்கய்யா, சின்ன பொண்ணா? என்ன தொந்தரவு இருக்கு?
கண் பார்வை வந்து மக்களுக்கு.
சுகர் எத்தனை வருஷமா இருக்கு?
சுகர் வந்து 2.5 வருஷமா இருந்துச்சு.
Diabetic retinopathy is a condition which affects people with diabetes. In the early stages, it's symptomless, but that's when it's treatable. So you want to screen them early on before they actually lose vision. நேரா பாருங்க. In the early stages, if a doctor is examining the eye or you take a picture of the back of the eye, you will see lots of those bleeding spots in the retina. சக்கரை எத்தனை வருஷமா இருக்கு? அதோட சேர்த்து 2 கண்ணிலையும் நரம்பு தரையில ரத்த கசிவு ஆயிருக்கு. Today, the doctors are not enough to do the screening. We have very limited ophthalmologists, so there should be other ways where you can screen the diabetic patients for the diabetic complications.
In the US, there are about 74 eye doctors for every million people. In India, there are only 11. So just keeping up with the sheer number of patients, let alone giving them the attention and care they need, is overwhelming, if not impossible.
We probably see about 2,000 to 2,500 patients every single day.
The interesting thing with diabetic retinopathy is there are ways to screen for it. There are ways to get ahead of the problem. The challenge is that not enough patients undergo screening.
Like Tim Shah's ALS speech recognizer, this problem is also about data, or lack of it. To prevent more people from experiencing vision loss, Dr. Kim wanted to get ahead of the problem.
So there's a hemorrhage. All these are exudates.
Dr. Kim called up a team at Google. Made up of doctors and engineers, they're exploring ways to use machine learning to solve some of the world's leading healthcare problems.
So we started with, could we train an AI model that can somehow help read these images, that can decrease the number of doctors required to do this task? So this is the normal view. When you start looking more deeply, then this can be a microaneurysm, right? This one here.
The team uses the same kind of machine learning that allows us to organize our photos or tag friends on social media: image recognition. First, models are trained using tagged images of things like cats or dogs. After looking at thousands of examples, the algorithm learns to identify new images without any human help. For the retinopathy project, over 100,000 eye scans were graded by eye doctors who rated each eye scan on a scale from 1 to 5, from healthy to diseased. These images were then used to train a machine learning algorithm. Over time, the AI learned to predict which eyes showed signs of disease.
This is the assistance view, where the model's predictions are actually projected on the original image, and it's picking up the pathologies very nicely.
To get help implementing the technology, Lily's team reached out to Verily, the life sciences unit at Alphabet.
So how was India?
Oh, amazing.
Verily came out of Google X, and we sit at the intersection of technology, life science, and healthcare. What we try to do is think about big problems that are affecting many patients, and how can we bring the best tools and best technologies to get ahead of the problems.
The technical pieces are so important. The methodology is important.
How do you capture the right image, and then how does the algorithm work?
Yes.
And how do you deploy these tools not only here, but in rural conditions? So if we can speed up this diagnosis process and augment the clinical care, then we can prevent blindness.
There aren't many other bigger problems that affect more patients. Diabetes affects 400 million worldwide, 70 million in India alone, which is why Jessica and Lily's teams began testing AI-enabled eye scanners there, in its most rural areas, like Dr. Kim's Aravind eye clinics.
Is the camera on? Now it's on. Yeah. So once the camera is up, we need to check the network connectivity.
The patient comes in, they get their pictures taken of the back of the eye, one for the left eye, one for the right eye. The images are uploaded to this algorithm, and once the algorithm performs its analysis, it sends the results back to the system, along with a referral recommendation.
It's good. It's up and running.
Yeah. Because the algorithm works in real time, you can get a real-time answer to a doctor, and that real-time answer comes back to the patient.
ஐயா அதில் நாடி வச்சுக்கோங்க, உள்ள வச்சுக்கோங்க, ஏற்றி முட்டினீங்க.
Once you have the algorithm, it's like taking your weight measurement. Within a few seconds, the system tells you whether you have retinopathy or not.
In the past, Santi's condition could have taken months to diagnose, if diagnosed at all.
வாங்க ஐயா, உள்ள வாங்க. இங்கே வாங்க. உள்ளேயே பாருங்க ஐயா, கண்ணை சிமிட்ட வேண்டாம், நேரம் மட்டும் உள்ள பாருங்க. சர்க்கரையினால கண்ணோட நரம்புல ஃபுல்லாக ரத்த கசிவு இருக்குது. அது போக அந்த நரம்புலையும் நீர் கோர்த்துருக்கு. சரிங்களா? இதுக்கு வந்து மதுரையில் போய் ஒரு தடவை பார்க்கணும். பெரிய டாக்டர் பார்த்துட்டு அடுத்து உங்களுக்கு என்ன பண்ணணுன்றத, அது போக நீர் கோர்த்துருக்கவும் செஞ்சிருக்கு. அதனால அங்கே போய் உடனே பார்க்கணும். சரிங்களா?
By the time an eye doctor would have been able to see her, Santi's diabetes might have caused her to go blind. Now, with the help of new technology, it's immediate, and she can take the hour-long bus ride to Dr. Kim's clinic in Madurai for same-day treatment.
உங்க பேர் என்ன? சாந்தி. இது பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்த ரத்த கசிவு இருக்கு இல்லையா, இது இங்க அதே மாதிரி இந்த புள்ளி புள்ளியா இருக்கு. கண்ணு பார்க்கலாமா?
Now, thousands of patients who may have waited weeks or months to be seen can get the help they need before it's too late.
இது கொஞ்சம் அட்வான்ஸ் ஸ்டேஜுக்கு போயிட்டு இருக்கு. நிச்சயமா உங்களுக்கு ரெண்டு கண்ணுலயுமே லேசர் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்னு ஒன்று பண்ண வேண்டி இருக்கும். அந்த லேசர் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் வந்து ஒரு தடவை இல்லை, அது 2-3 தடவை பண்ண வேண்டி இருக்கும்.
தேங்க்யூ சார். லேசர் பெருசா வலிக்காது. ஒரு ஒளி மட்டும் வந்து போறாப்ல இருக்கு. பச்சை கலரா இருக்கு. கேட்ராக்டும் கொஞ்சம் இருக்கு.
Retinopathy is when high blood sugar damages the retina. Blood leaks, and the laser treatment basically welds the blood vessels to stop the leakage. Routine eye exams can spot the problem early. In rural or remote areas like here, AI can step in and be that early detection system.
மருந்து எழுதி தருவாங்க, அது வரைக்கும் வாங்கிட்டு போங்க. சரியா? வலி இருக்குங்களா?
I think one of the most important applications of AI is in places where doctors are scarce. In a way, what AI does is make intelligence cheap. And now imagine what you can do when you make intelligence cheap. People can have access to doctors that they couldn't before. It may not be the impact that catches the most headlines, but in many ways it will be the most important impact.
இப்போ நேற்று லேசரில் பண்ணதுனால இந்த கண்ணு பார்வை வந்து கொஞ்சம் தெளிவாக இருக்கு. சுகரை குறைச்சிருங்க, சுகர் எவ்வளோக்கு குறைக்கிறீங்களோ அவ்வளோக்கு கண் பார்வை நல்லா இருக்குன்னு சொன்னாங்க.
AI now is this next generation of tools that we can apply to clinically meaningful problems. So AI really starts to democratize healthcare.
கொஞ்சம் நம்பிக்கை இருக்கு, நான் சரியாயிரும் அப்படின்ற நம்பிக்கை.
The work with diabetic retinopathy is opening our eyes to so much potential. Even within these images, we're starting to see some interesting signals that might tell us about someone's risk factors for heart disease. And from there, you start to think about all of the images that we collect in medicine. Can you use AI or an algorithm to help patients and doctors get ahead of a given diagnosis?
Take cancer as an example of how AI can help save lives, where you can actually take a sample of somebody's blood and look for the minuscule amounts of cancer DNA, of tumor DNA in that blood. And this is a great application for machine learning.
And why stop there? Could AI accomplish what human researchers have not yet been able to?
Figuring out how cells work well enough that you can understand why a tumor grows and how to stop it without hurting the surrounding cells.
And if cancer could be cured, maybe mental health disorders like depression or anxiety.
There are facial and vocal biomarkers of these mental health disorders. People check their phones 15 times an hour. So that's an opportunity to almost do like a well-being checkpoint. You can flag that to the individual, to a loved one, or in some cases even to a doctor.
If you look at the overall field of medicine, how do you do a great job of diagnosing illness? Having artificial intelligence, the world's greatest diagnostician, helps.
This course is...
At Google, Julie and the Euphonia team have been working for months trying to find a way for former NFL star Tim Shaw to get his voice back.
When you use text-to-speech synthesizer for Tim, can you use his old voice?
Yes. So Zach's team, the DeepMind team, has built a model that can imitate your voice. For Tim, we were lucky because, Tim has a career of NFL player, so he did multiple radio interviews and TV interviews, so he sent us this footage.
Hey, this is Tim Shaw, special teams animal. We got Christmas coming up, so we need to find out what's happening with these Titans players during the Christmas season. See, if you got to hesitate, that's probably a no.
Tim will be able to type whatever he wants, and the prototype will say it in Tim's voice.
I've always loved attention. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but she's gonna shape it for you.
Interpreting speech is one thing, but recreating the way a real person sounds is an order of magnitude harder.
Playing Tecmo Bowl, eating Christmas cookies and turkey.
Voice imitation is also known as voice synthesis, which is basically speech recognition in reverse. First, machine learning converts text back into waveforms. These waveforms are then used to create sound. This is how Alexa and Google Home are able to talk to us. Now the teams from DeepMind and Google AI are working to create a model to imitate the unique sound of Tim's voice.
Looks like it's computing.
But it worked this morning.
We have to set expectations quite low.
I don't know how our model is going to perform. I hope that, Tim will understand and actually see the technology for what it is, which is, a work in progress and a research project.
After 6 months of waiting, Tim Shaw is about to find out. A team working on a speech recognition model is coming to his house for a practice run.
Good girl. Come say hello. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Come in.
Thanks for having us.
He's met some of you before, hasn't he?
How are you doing, Tim?
Hi, Tim.
Good to see you.
Hello. Hi, I'm Julie. We saw each other on the camera.
It's warmer here than it is in Boston.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Okay. Lead the way, Tim.
I'm excited to share with Tim and his parents what we've been working on. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know if the app is going to behave the way we hope it will behave, but I'm also very excited to learn new things and to hear Tim's feedback.
So I brought 2 versions with me. I was supposed to pick, but I decided to just bring both just in case one is better than the other. And just so you know, this one here was trained only using recordings of your voice. And this one here was trained using recordings of your voice and also from other participants from ALS TDI who went through the same exercise of... So, okay, so let's, I was hoping we could give them a try. Are we ready?
Who are you talking about?
I got it.
I got it.
Is it coming?
Yes.
Are you working today? It's wonderful.
Cool. Thank you for trying this.
Fabulous.
What I like, it made mistakes and then it corrected itself.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, like, it's like, oh, that's not, and then it went, and it does it right.
These were phrases, part of the 70% that we actually used to train the model, but we also set aside 30% of the phrases. So this might not do as well, but I was hoping that we could try some of these too.
So what we've already done is him using phrases that were used to train.
That's right.
Yeah. Now we're trying to see if it can recognize phrases that weren't part of that.
Yes, that's right. You're right. So let's give it a try.
Do you want me to? Do you have the time to play? What happens afterward?
So on the last one, this one got it and this one didn't. I'll pause it. So.
Love the first one when it says, can you help me take a shower?
That's not at all what he said.
I know, you're gonna be really careful what you ask for. So if when it's interpreting his voice and it makes some errors, is there a way we can go in and correct it?
We want to add the option for you guys to fix the recordings, but as of today, because this is the very first time we actually try this, we don't have it yet.
This is still a work in progress. We have a speech recognition model that works for Tim Shaw, which is, one person. And we're really hoping that, this technology can work for many people.
There's something else I wanted to try, if that's okay. So we're working with another team at Google called DeepMind. They're specialized in voice imitation and synthesis.
In 2019, Tim wrote a letter to his younger self. They are words written by a 34-year-old man with ALS who has trouble communicating, sent back in time to a 22-year-old on the cusp of NFL greatness.
So let me give this a try. So I just like using this letter because it's just so beautiful. So let me see if this is gonna work.
So I decided to write you this letter because I have so much to tell you. I want to explain to you why it's so difficult for me to speak, the diagnosis, all of it, and what my life is like now, because one day you will be in my shoes, living with the same struggles.
voice that I've forgotten.
I don't even remember that. I don't remember that voice.
We do.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've sounded like that I feel like a new person. It felt like a missing part was put back in place. It's amazing. And I'm just thankful that there are people in the world that will push the envelope to help other people. It was nice of you to come today.
We're so happy to be working with you. It's really an honor.
It's amazing.
The thought that one day that can be linked with this, and when you speak as you are now, it will sound like that. That keeps...
Then you'll have to wait for me to talk, and then that.
It's okay. We'll wait.
There is a lot of unknown and still a lot of research to be conducted. We're really trying to have a proof of concept first and then expand to not only people who have ALS, but also people who had a stroke, who had a traumatic brain injury, multiple sclerosis, any types of neurologic conditions. Also maybe other languages too. I would really like this to work for French, for example.
Wouldn't it be a wonderful opportunity to bring technology to problems that we're solving in life science and healthcare? And in fact, it's a missed opportunity if we don't think about bringing these best technologies to help people. So this is really just the beginning.
Just the beginning indeed. Imagine the possibilities.
I think an imaginable future for AI in healthcare is that there is no healthcare anymore because nobody needs it. You could actually have an AI that is directly talking to your immune system and is actually preemptively creating the antibodies for the epidemics that are coming your way and will not be stopped. This will not happen tomorrow, but I think it's the long-term goal that we can point towards.
Tim had never heard his own words read out loud before today. Neither had his parents.
Every single day is a struggle for me. I can barely move my arms.
Have fun.
I can't walk on my own, so I recently started using a wheelchair. I have trouble chewing and swallowing. I feel for a good pork chop. Yes, my body is failing, but my mind is not giving up. Find what's most important in your life and live for that. Don't let 3 letters, NFL, define you. The same way I refuse to let 3 letters define me.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster.
Man, when I was a kid, $6 Million Man was all the rage. It's a show about a guy who gets rebuilt with robotic machine parts. God, I loved it. And then 35 years later, I got to play a similar role. A character who enhances himself via technology and engineering. Now, the term bionics goes back to the 1950s. But the idea of enhancement actually dates back much further to Greek mythology, Aztec gods, and even ancient Hinduism. So these next stories are about augmenting our human abilities. Everything from a bionic limb that behaves naturally and understands intent, to data that improves performance, and vision enhancement that saves people in actual life-threatening situations. It seems with AI, anything's possible. So it raises the question, do we even want to be superhuman, or is imperfection what makes life interesting in the first place? Whatevs, I gotta get back to the gym. Normally I jog, but I got a wonky knee. I should probably switch it out. We can rebuild me. Better, faster, stronger. 7 miles an hour, full out.
Designers within the field of bionics, they don't view the human body itself as designable media. We now have sophistication in artificial intelligence, in motor technology, in material science, and how to talk to the nervous system, setting the foundation for the end of human disability.
Do you want to do an omelet?
Sure. You probably don't want too much onion because you'll have bad breath all day.
Oh, thanks, yeah. Anyway, what we're talking about?
26 years, 29
26
years.
Almost 29 years together, yep.
Our first date was 2000, wasn't it?
1990.
1990, oh my God.
I could tell when I first met Jim that he's highly intelligent. And he said, would you like to go rock climbing sometime? And I said, sure.
I started rock climbing in my very early teens, and I consider climbing to be, it's more than a passion for me, it's my lifestyle. In 2014, my family and I traveled to the Cayman Islands. We went rock climbing. I set up the ropes for the day, and we'd done a few climbs with no problems. I started up the final section and shifted my feet and slipped off. 50 feet to the ground.
When I saw him at the hospital, I have never felt so helpless in my entire life. It was horrible.
The front and back of my pelvis were completely shattered. My left wrist was shattered. My left ankle was broken into 2 or 3 chunks, but the rest of it was kind of pulverized. It slowly started to dawn on me that this was something that was going to be life-changing.
You're at the hospital. We're not looking at photos right now.
I'm looking at them.
You look all you want, baby.
After a year, everything else seemed to heal well, but the ankle continued to be a problem. The bone was mostly dead, and the main fracture was still there.
He was in severe pain all the time, and he just became so depressed.
I couldn't do the things that I love. I could barely walk down the street without pain, never mind go rock climbing.
Rock climbing is his passion. I mean, I just see him withering if he could not climb.
Jim didn't know what to do. And then, in a truly incredible stroke of luck, his past came back to help decide his future.
I began mountain climbing at the tender age of 7. At the age of 17, I was in a mountain climbing accident, and I suffered severe frostbite. My legs were amputated. I really dedicated myself to redesigning first my own legs, and then the legs of many, many people around the world.
A few decades, a couple of MIT degrees, and a single-minded focus to innovate later, Hugh launched the prosthetics industry into the bionic future.
I'm getting a tremendous amount of energy, power from the ankles, which enables me to walk uphill with a perfectly erect posture. My legs, they have the brain. It's a small computer the size of your thumbnail. And that brain receives sensory information from sensors on the bionic limb. And then it runs algorithms and makes decisions on how to actuate itself. And machine learning is used as part of those algorithms.
So machine learning is what's called a subset field of artificial intelligence. We learn from experience. Machine learning is basically learning from the experience, where the experience is the data. It takes input from the world, and the input could be text in books, it can be camera images from a car. It applies a very complex mathematical function, and then has an output, which is a decision.
The bionic legs allow Hugh to walk, run, even climb. But for him, there was still something missing.
Because I can't feel my legs, they remain tool-like to me. And I believe if I could feel my limbs, they would become part of me, part of self, and fundamentally change my relationship to the synthetic part of my body.
I would describe it as just this amazing, lucky coincidence that Hugh and I were roommates 34 years ago.
We were teenagers rock climbing together and living like dirtbags, living like bums, climbing every day.
So I decided I was going to look up Hugh and talk to him about what my options might be.
Jim was in excruciating pain, and he asked me if I or my colleagues could help him.
What I really was hoping was that he could put me in touch with a reconstructive surgeon that could rebuild my ankle.
All right, so this is your x-ray.
Jim was evaluated and was provided options of either maintaining the biological limb and doing certain procedures to try to improve its function and to reduce the pain, or to amputate the limb.
The thought of amputation was just so big. What's life going to be like for me if I choose to amputate this foot? But it hurt so bad. I spoke with Kathy and Maxine about it. They were behind me 100%. Whatever I needed to do.
How do you make a decision like that? A few months later, he agreed to have his leg amputated and be the first person to try his friend's bold but experimental procedure.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
The way in which limbs are amputated has not fundamentally changed since the U.S. Civil War. here at MIT, we were developing a novel way of amputating limbs. We actually create little biological joints by linking muscles together in pairs. So when a person thinks and moves the limb that's been amputated away, these muscles move and send sensations that we can directly link to a bionic limb in a bidirectional way. So not only can the person think and actuate the synthetic limb, but they can actually feel those synthetic movements within their own nervous system.
Until recently, creating a bionic limb that a person can actually feel has been more science fiction than reality. Now, machine learning is revolutionizing the way we think about medicine.
If anything can solve the hard problems in medicine, it's AI. Let's take an example, heart disease. No single human being can have in their head all the knowledge that it takes to understand heart disease, but a computer can. Things like radiology, pathology. You have an X-ray and want to say, like, is there cancer in this lung and can you pinpoint where the tumor is or not? AIs can actually, at this point, do this better than highly trained humans.
Can we get the test mark, please?
It's so light. It's weird.
It really looks good. I'm super happy with this. And you got a nice degree of padding here.
Right after the surgery, the incredible deep in the bone pain that I had been experiencing for the past year was gone. So to me, that was a success right there. Never mind whether or not the experimental part of the amputation was a success. I was glad to be free of the painful ankle.
He was happy. It was done. He was ready to move on.
Hey guys, how's it looking? How's progress?
Things look good. Let me go ahead and get you wired up.
The first time I went to Hugh's lab, Hugh started talking about, what do you think about a climbing robot ankle? Would you want us to make one of those?
So let me go ahead and get us started here.
It's a specifically designed limb that Jim can control with his mind and actually feel the movements within his nervous system.
Still need the evert.
Yep, that's the one we're missing. All right, so we have you wired to the leg now. So you're driving.
Cool.
Yeah. You give me fast up, down. And slow controlled. This freaking blows me away every time you do it. It's so good.
When we link Jim's nerves in that bidirectional way, we're able to create natural dynamics. So even though the limb is made of synthetic materials, it moves as if it's made of flesh and bone. There. Now it's neurally and mechanically connected. How does it feel different?
Now it feels like it's my natural foot. Somewhat. Like I don't have the skin sensation, but all the motions make sense to my brain.
In the algorithm, we make a virtual model of his missing biological limb. So when he fires his muscles with his brain, we use an electrode to measure that signal. And then that drives the virtual muscle and sends sensations to the brain about the position and dynamics.
Kind of instantly felt part of me, almost as good as having a natural foot.
Cathedral Ledge, New Hampshire. 700 feet of awe-inspiring granite. And climbing routes with names like Thin Air, Nutcracker, and They Died Laughing make it one hell of a challenge for even the most serious climbers on a good day. For Jim, it's a test to see if what works at MIT can work out on the mountain.
I've been climbing here for 40 years, and I've probably spent more time on Cathedral Ledge than any place else on the planet. This climb is actually at the upper limit of my ability at the moment.
Not worried at all. What could possibly go wrong? The mountain has no mercy and no margin for error. And Jim's about to find out if his bionic leg can help him overcome and scale heights most people wouldn't dare try in the first place.
That's me.
Can machine learning take us even further? Replace not just what was lost, but enhance what we already have.
Okay, stay close. I'll lead. This is insane.
Augment performance beyond the limits of our natural human ability? Make strong, smart, fast people stronger, smarter, and faster.
In many ways, sports has been on the leading edge of prediction systems, and now every serious sports contender uses sports analytics. But the big opportunity going forward is embedding devices that can collect real-time data to update strategies to take advantage of that learning. There's a revolution going on in sports, and machine learning is at the core of it.
The first night race of the season, I'm sure you're ready to finally get behind the wheel.
For sure, just fired up and get this thing going. AAA cars are pretty good this weekend, and we're pumped to get this thing started.
Drivers, start your engines.
The racetrack's a fairly hostile environment. The way I describe racing and the way I live it, it's like war.
Let's get on your feet, let's send these guys off. Let's go racing, boys!
You're trying to take your race car, your team, your driver, and beat the other drivers at all costs.
Yeah, but I'll roll here. Here, bumper.
Austin Dillon stuck in the middle of a 3-wide. This kind of race produces a lot of strategy. And that's where we have to use all of our tools to help us make those strategic decisions.
When it comes to superhuman ability, you may think of people like LeBron James, Michael Phelps, or Serena Williams. But it's not just the body that can be enhanced. Sometimes it's something less tangible, like human intuition.
What a battle going on here. You got to be real careful here in the early stages making contact with somebody.
Information is the next battleground.
Find out a limber wedge is faster.
Every decision you make can have a big impact.
Back in the day, intuition used to play a big part in sports. Athletes and coaches relied on their gut to make decisions. Now, some competitors are leaning more and more on machine learning, looking to gain whatever extra edge they can.
We use the AI tools to predict what the future not only is, but what it should be.
We'll go behind the 20 to the start-finish line.
The strength of these AI systems come in having access to a ton of data and being able to find patterns in that data, generating insights and inferences that maybe people may not be aware of, and then augmenting people's abilities to make decisions based on that data.
Machine learning is transforming many industries and applications, especially in areas where there's a lot of data and predicting outcomes can have a big payoff. Finance, sports, or medicine come to mind. Using an emerging technology like machine learning in a classic old-school sport like stock car racing doesn't necessarily sit well with everybody, which may or may not explain why this guy's doing it. In a nerve center 250 miles away.
Clear, clear. Hit tomorrow. Drive off, man.
My role there really is looking at the data. How do you use the data you can acquire at the racetrack, get these machines to be right on the limit of performance.
His front rotors are really glowing.
We get the braking, steering, throttle, all the acceleration off of every car in the field, real time.
All this data is being fed into an AI program called PitRow. Sensors in every car measure speed, throttle, braking, and steering. Advanced GPS tracks the car's position on the track.
Watch your middle, watch your middle.
All this data is made available to every team.
This is where the power of AI comes in. So our tool basically is analyzing the optimum strategy call of every car in the field real time. Not just our car, but every car.
It's almost threatening. I was a crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Coming to you. 10-4.
I would sit up on the box and intuitively kind of figure all these things, kind of just make that gut call. Bring him in now.
Until now, many key decisions like when to pit for tires or fuel were made by the drivers and the crew chief using experience and intuition.
Now we've got artificial intelligence that's making all these calculations in real time. Some of the crew chiefs that have done what I've done over the years, sometimes it's hard for us to embrace it.
They're trying to get through traffic as fast as they can so they don't get a lap down, but that's going to use up those tires.
You can go with this track on fuel probably 120 laps, but your tires will be shot way before then.
In a NASCAR race, pit stops are the key to a winning strategy.
You're trying to decide when in that cycle is the best to make that stop, because you lose a lot of time when you come off the track and you have to stop, but then you gain a lot of speed when you put new tires on.
It's the first time we're facing like a strategy call here.
The PitRow AI interface displays one of 4 suggestions. Stay out on the track, pit for fuel only, pit for 2 tires, or pit for 4 tires.
So basically right now it's telling them take 4 tires.
Eric relays the message to the Childers team at the track. The final decision on when to pit will be up to the crew chief.
When the pits are open, it'll be 4 tires here. 4 tires.
For the first pit stop, the crew chief follows the AI's advice.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put on the brake, wheel left.
The crew has to change all 4 tires in as little time as possible. This usually takes between 12 and 14 seconds.
Good stuff. Really good stuff.
A lot of times what happens is over the course of a race even, those little bit better decisions put you in a spot and then put you in an opportunity at the end of the race to be able to win the race.
At the line, you got 20 more laps at this stage. 20 more.
Every lap is analyzing the field, updating its models. As the race goes on, prediction gets more and more accurate.
They're using an AI technique called reinforcement learning, which is basically when the computer is given the rules of the game, plays it over and over till it learns every possible move and outcome, and then through trial and error and patience that no human could possibly have.
I wonder if we have a resignation here.
Becomes amazing.
Congratulations to AlphaGo and to the entire team.
It's what Google's DeepMind did to become a world champ at Go.
Here we go.
It's what OpenAI did to conquer the video game Dota 2.
He's dominating. You scared of a bot?
And build a robotic hand with near human dexterity. It's what Eric's hoping to do to get the checkered flag.
You can see he's on his way to the top 10.
Yeah, we got that. We're focused here.
And you go up a few cars, you'll find that 3 of Austin Dillon up in 6th place, making up time on the race leader.
So now Austin runs 6.
No, all the leaders.
We're 4.7 seconds from the leaders. So the recommendation is pit on lap 327. What my fear is that they'll pit with the leaders instead of actually running to the strategy.
Going to the pits when the leaders do is the safe play in the end stages of a race.
As far as you got me?
But the AI tool is recommending a riskier plan that might gain them valuable seconds.
The recommendation is to pit once on 327.
That's what is recommended.
By pitting later, Austin Dillon will have faster tires for the closing laps of the race. But he risks falling further behind the leaders once they come out of the pits with their fresh tires.
It thinks the leaders might start peeling off about 315, so don't get nervous.
I mean, I'm actually not convinced.
A lot of times when our pit road technology tells us this is the time to pit or this is how to do it, it doesn't feel right.
I mean, if they start pitting, we're pitting.
You sure you want to do that now?
Sometimes you might be sitting out there running laps on older tires where everybody else is pitted and it's like it doesn't feel right for the driver.
I bet he loses his mind before then.
Are you talking about Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
He's going to want to be coming down pit road and you got to convince him. Stay out here and make good laps. Trust us, it's going to work.
Some leaders are going to pit right here, and we need to run.
Looks like the 22 is going to choose to come down pit road.
So all of the 4 came in on the same lap where they need 2 laps to go.
On lap 318, the top 4 cars enter the pits.
We probably need to come next lap, huh?
Stay on the strategy.
We are getting close, folks. It's going to be a last-minute decision here.
Here's where the faith and the tool ends up happening. When they all pit, it takes a lot of faith to stay out there and run to your lap.
Hit it now, okay? I think that's a good call.
Austin Dillon breaks from the AI strategy and follows the leaders into the pits.
God.
That's not good news.
3, 2, 1. Foot on the brake, wheels left.
To maintain their position, the team needs a flawless pit stop.
We lost about 3 seconds. We're not going to be nowhere near them. Nice going on pit road. It's pretty disastrous.
Prior to the pit stop, we were about 4.6 seconds back. But when we came out, we were 9 seconds back. So we lost about 4.5 seconds on that exchange. That's hard to get back.
Okay, but you go to work on it. You know this won't be easy. Just fight hard here.
They've dropped from 6th place to 12th. And Austin Dillon has very little time left to fight his way back to the leaders.
Come on, Austin, get it.
Everybody's slipping and sliding.
But the new tires give him an edge.
The white flag waves, 1 lap to go.
So if we were to come out with Hamlin and get where we need right now, we'd be in the battle for the lead right now.
Short track win number 1 for Martin Truex.
6 points stuck.
And he ends up finishing 6th.
Hell of a freaking drive, Austin Dillon. Hey, nice work tonight, man. Way to fight hard there. Hell of a job, boys.
Hey, good job, guys. Progressing through the race, definitely the cars got faster, so, we'll see good things we take back next time we go to Richmond.
Hell of a job this weekend, boys.
The hardest thing as we've incorporated more AI-based tools is trust.
Sometimes we're the ones that get in the way, right?
There's still times when it's counterintuitive and everybody's like, it's the wrong call, it's the wrong call. And over time, we have these battles because most of the time the AI tools is right.
9 times out of 10 or even more, it's the right call.
Andy and Eric's team were using AI and on track for a strong finish. But they fell behind when the team ignored the machine and went with their intuition.
That'll do it.
Convincing humans that machines know what they're doing is the central difficulty in deploying AI out in society, whether it's the pit boss in car racing or even astronauts flying to the moon.
Do we trust the AI to make decisions for us? We already do with GPS maps. Perhaps here the team just didn't have enough experience with it to override their own intuition. But what about other situations? At what point do we start trusting AI in more serious matters? Matters of life and death.
So it was a smoldering fire that just filled the whole house with smoke, and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. You literally had to feel your way up the stairs. Totally blind search, yeah.
Sometimes that's the best thing we can do.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours and 45 minutes, a U.S. citizen dies by fire in their own home. We've lost more than 3,000 a year, consistently, for 30 years.
The Worcester fire. 3 guys go in, they all get disoriented, get lost. 2 more go in to find them, they get lost. 2 more go in. I mean, before you know it, they finally have to okay, we're not sending any more guys in there because they're all freaking lost.
On his radio, a commanding officer heard two firefighters desperately crying out for help.
Mayday, mayday, we're running out of air. Come to the door so we can see where you are. And we did that. And we went beyond the door, and we yelled, and we had lights. And they were inside somewhere that they couldn't see us.
All those guys who died in that.
When we go into a structure that's dark and smoky, the biggest challenge is the visibility. The ability to navigate is a challenge, and often firefighters have become disoriented, and then they run out of air. With the challenge of smoke and having no vision, I knew that there was a possibility of changing that. That's when I finally met the see-through team.
Okay, is the system turning on? Let's see. Unplug that one. I guess the best way to describe myself is I'm infinitely curious. I like to solve problems, look at things through a new lens. I was in disbelief that firefighting in a smoked out building involves training their personnel to revert back to feeling around a room. How's the battery level doing? That was really the inspiration behind creating See-Through.
Sam Kosman saw the light when he jumped into a volcano. Fire! Part globetrotting adrenaline junkie, part computer engineer, the self-proclaimed Indiana Jones of tech envisioned a tool that would help firefighters and save lives. A kind of X-ray vision.
The problem that See-Through is trying to solve is really flipping the lights on for people operating in zero visibility conditions.
The concept of See-Through was the helmet that had enhanced audio, enhanced vision.
I see ya. I'm on my way.
Outlines their surrounding geometry so that they can navigate faster.
So is it this plane right here that changed recently?
Yes, basically like a simpler design that can achieve more.
We have a mask, and we have a thermal imaging device that sits on the side of that mask, and we process that image through a small computer.
Sam and Omer created a mask with special glasses clipped inside, which allows firefighters to see edges as green lines in an augmented reality overlay.
How's the alignment look on that one?
It's not bad. We need to calibrate it a little bit more.
Omer and I have been working on refining the prototypes for the last couple of years, just trying to MacGyver some of these problems with off-the-shelf parts, duct tape and bubble gum.
Move your hand around a little bit.
Okay.
Other hand, like that one. Yeah, it's definitely better.
It may look like old Tron-era night vision, but there's actually some pretty slick artificial intelligence at work here. Thermal imaging cameras stream video from the firefighter's helmet into an AI processor. Using infrared light and a powerful edge detection algorithm, the mask detects subtle changes in brightness to predict shapes invisible to the human eye, like a wall hidden by smoke, or a kid hiding under a bed.
Here you go. Take this mask.
Sam and Omer are now at a familiar point in the innovator's journey. Get out of the garage and into the real world to see if their invention can take the heat.
Fire dispatch, Medic 71 arrived on scene and have a report of smoke showing.
One of the most important things any fire department does is regular hands-on training.
There he is.
How you doing, Captain?
Good to see you, brother.
We're going to give the See-Through solution a hard run.
We got a prototype fresh off the print.
And we're going to put it in fire and smoke, and we're going to see how it acts while crews are working with it.
Shall we get him inside the smoke?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm a cyborg.
Okay, we're ready for the Class A room.
Crews will be doing live fire drills in our training tower. It is active, real fire with temperatures of ceiling at 1200 degrees.
Firefighters are in a hurry, looking for victims. Visibility will be limited at best. Often firefighters will be able to see nothing.
Unit 1, public forum. The unit is working. Just breaking up a bit. Okay, let's switch down. That's a board, We're abandoning the fire attack now.
See-Through's maiden voyage is cut short by a malfunction.
In an active firefight, it's critical that things work. It's life and death.
At first, it was good. I got through, went down on the floor, and I looked and I could see it, everything clear.
Yeah.
Really well, everything was lined out. Once I started working, I lost it.
Yeah, the signal went out.
The signal went out.
I'm not 100% sure what that was, but we're going to figure it out. I think there's just a lot of interference or maybe a cable issue. We did encounter some challenges. The biggest of them was some Wi-Fi interference that we've encountered where the system would just shut down.
Yeah, it's actually like over here with the connections, like this pin, you know?
Okay, that's what's...
Yeah, the pin connections here and here actually.
We should just shield the cables as best we can and give it another go.
Battalion 10 Fire Dispatch, we've got a caller on the second floor, trapped in the bathroom.
So you want to go ahead and try it on for a fit. We'll see how it goes.
Fire Dispatch Battalion 10.
Primary hand. Ventilation. Let's go.
Engine 72 arrived on scene, reporting of heavy smoke showing from the first and second floor.
We got smoke showing from the first and second floor.
Engine 71, you're going to be taking fire attack.
This is insane. I don't believe this, man. I can see pattern on the walls. I can even see the badge on your helmet. Okay, stay close. I'll lead.
Mike 71 is on scene, smoke showing from the second and first floor.
And a victim trapped on the second floor. Over here, I see it. 3 yards at 2 o'clock. I got him.
Command copies, 1 victim coming out of the second window. You need EMS. Medic 72, you're going to have to take patient care.
As soon as I got in, I could see the outline of the room. As I stepped in, just kind of took a look around. I could see where the victim was and the outline of the door. I mean, hands-free, you know?
We had fire attack, so I assume that Engine 71.
It is kind of like, like Iron Man, you know? Being able to see through the smoke and having everything so clear-cut. It's pretty cool.
What we're working on is really a game-changing tool that completely has the potential to transform how the work here is done.
This is some of the videos of the see-through mask. Okay.
That is way crisper than I've seen.
That is insane.
Over the 30 years that I've been at this, I've seen a lot of changes. We have mobile data computers, we have computer-aided dispatch systems.
No, that's going to be a game changer, there's no doubt about it.
And now we have the possibility with machine learning and AI to progress to a place just a couple years ago we couldn't have imagined.
And is that completely pitch dark in there right now?
That's that is actually what you see in the mask.
We're going to go on another call, gentlemen.
It's impossible to know if this technology could have saved those 6 firefighters in Worcester. But it's hard to believe it wouldn't have helped. Back on Cathedral Ledge, Jim is about to see if his new bionic leg will help him scale a 700-foot sheer rock face.
I'm just going to kind of bring everything.
All right.
My own personal MIT pit crew.
Got the socket.
It's the socket.
What we're going to do today is climb on Cathedral Ledge with a new robot foot designed specifically for climbing. Now we can set up camp here.
All right, we should be ready to start calibrating.
Plantar flex. Rest.
You're
That's
driving
me.
now. How's it feel?
Pretty accurate. It's going everywhere that I'm telling it to go. This climb is going to be very challenging because there's a variety of holds at different angles, different heights. I'd say there's a high probability of there being some falling action here and there. I was really afraid, very worried whether or not I could make it all the way up a climb. You good there, Joe? Harness is on. I got plenty of gear. All right, we're climbing. I think I'm at a crux section here. Well, first of all, I'm not sticking very well. It's hard business. Slack! Oh! We have failure. The whole mechanism broke. I remember looking down at it, seeing the foot at a strange angle, and holy crap, that is gonna hurt. Like, I was bracing for pain. I mean, how much more of a part of you does it need to be?
Oh my God.
I would call that a catastrophic failure.
Pretty catastrophic.
But it was a strange sensation though, because all of a sudden my ankle was broken. And you feel like you're losing your limb all over again.
How you feeling? You feel like you want to go down again? We did bring a spare.
Sure.
Okay, we'll swap it over to this one. In engineering, we're kind of used to things not exactly going right the first time, so that's why we have contingency plans.
So this is the last climbing robot leg in the world, Jim.
We're good to go again.
A little nervous about trusting this foot now. Watch me here. If the left robot breaks, I'm going for a ride. Actually did that move.
Well done.
We're rock climbing, dude. With the robotic leg, I found that I could move more naturally. Life on the edge, man. I was pain-free, and it was, I don't know, it was just kind of fun and satisfying.
We have always hypothesized that if we can link the nerves of a human being to a bionic limb, the limb would become part of the person, part of identity.
Topping out.
Remarkably, it's happened.
Cyborg power.
It's a tall peak, but pales in comparison to the one Hugh is ultimately trying to climb.
We also have the goal of extending human capability beyond a physiological function, jump higher, run faster. So Bionics not only seeks to achieve normative function in humans, but also to extend human expression beyond what people were born with.
Human enhancement and augmentation have been around through human history and mythology, from Prometheus stealing fire to the Civil War. Using tools to improve our abilities is a fundamental human development, whether it's stone spears to protect our families or airplanes to transport us farther.
And that's really what we're seeing, the transformation of society, and not just racing, not just sports. Is really using these AI tools, and they'll become commonplace. Wouldn't be thought about otherwise.
AI and machine learning, they're just tools, ones that make us stronger, smarter, faster.
AI will play an increasingly dominant role across all the many dimensions of what it means to be human.
There's a good chance AI will continue to enhance us in ways both known and unknown, eventually becoming as invisible as the air we breathe.
That narrative will play out across all types of human conditions that will enhance human capability, fundamentally change who we are as a human race.
The question then becomes, if it does, what do we do with our newfound superpowers?